another live stream session where we will look into and react to videos of spiritual beings. Today we'll be looking at the great mystic himself, Sadhguru Jagi Vasudev, and we'll be looking at Sri Ravi Shankar ji. And what we'll be doing is looking at a few of their videos where they talk about enlightenment, and we hope to gain a better understanding of enlightenment from them. That's the aim. I haven't watched these videos, or if I have, it was many years ago, so I don't really remember them. So I'll be pretty much going in there blind. And yeah, so we'll begin that in a few seconds while I get that set up. And so, yes, we'll do that in a second. And okay. Let me start. Right. So let's get this up and running. I want to make sure everything is good. Okay. That's good. That's good. Hey, Dimitri, how are you? Good to see you. So I'm gonna be. So yeah. So why did I pick these? I've been thinking of new ways of doing these reaction videos. Sometimes we can do longer reaction videos where I would like to spend a bit more time. They tend to be longer videos. Um, and with these ones they're short videos, but they can tell us a lot. They can um, tell us a lot about what these teachers believe in and what they stand for. So that's why I have done a previous kind of reaction video to Sadhguru when he was asked about who am I, and he kind of mocked Ramana Maharishi and the question. I didn't really like that, but but that doesn't mean that because I didn't like one thing he said, he doesn't have anything good to say. I don't think that's right. You can learn from everyone and everybody and anybody. The whole point is to try and find whatever you can learn from and adapt it. At the end of the day, he has he has 10 million subscribers, and say even if just you know 1 million of these subscribers listen to his message and they gain something, that's good enough. That's a great achievement. So coming from India, from down south, the southern part of India, and achieving what he's achieved is I respect that. The other one is Sri Ravi Shankar ji. He's been on the scene a lot longer. In fact, I listened to one of his his podcast interview on Duncan Trussell's Family Hour, and that was really good. Actually, I felt that Sri Ravi Shankar did a better job in presenting himself than Sadhguru did on Joe Rogan. Now, I don't know whether it's because Joe Rogan is a bit more skeptical than Duncan, um, but nevertheless, it was really good and really insightful. I agreed with a lot of things that Sri Ravi Shankar ji said, and one thing that I have noticed and observed about him more than anything is his continuous practice of uh, pandemic measures. So, for example, you still see videos of him wearing a mask, and he's still taking those precautions, which is interesting because for a person with his size of following, I think it's just generally good practice to do. So it's good to see that, and that tells you a lot about also how Sri Ravi Shankar's main body of work is probably not so much into health. I don't know if he used to be. Um, I don't know much of his previous work, but recently I've noticed he's more towards the spiritual aspects and answering seekers' questions, or that's at least what the PR campaign is doing for him. So, um, so I find that with him, there's a bit more balance and understanding compared to Sadhguru. Sadhguru, he, there's a lot of initiatives, and sometimes the initiatives kind of get lost in his um kind of get lost in his charisma, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Probably bad for the initiatives, but it also says a lot about the charisma of Sadhguru. Okay, so that's good to know that Sri Ravi Shankar ji's always been about spirituality. So yes, so we'll start off with a Sadhguru video because I've got two Sadhguru videos, um, and um, the reason why I've done two is because um, let me put it this way: the reason why I have two is I wonder whether he repackages things, so whether he just says the same things and then does two different videos for it in order to just get views, which is fine. I mean, I'm just wondering whether that's the case or whether he updates a previous video with something more recent. So we'll find out. But yeah, so they do use notions of healing in the advertising, but that's what I thought. I kind of felt that he did utilize. So Sri Ravi Shankar ji did utilize words like healing and stuff like that. So that's why I was kind of thinking about that. But anyway, let's start with this video. In fact, this is not the one I want. Let's swap that. Okay, here we go. Trying to get the right videos. Yeah, for the West. I mean, I wonder whether the messaging is different. Sadhguru claims his messaging in the West is different to his messaging in the East. So I do wonder if that is the case, although I've not really found that to be. Okay, here we go. And we're going to do it like this. Okay. Right. Our main man. Oh, yeah. He's got the classic garb on. Flowers there. And yeah, I like the tree. One thing I have to give Sadhguru for, like, go give kudos to is I love his aesthetics to the stage. They do a really good job in creating that whole mystical vibe. I should have a flower pot somewhere. I think. Well, we got an orchid downstairs. I could utilize that. No, I don't know if my wife would be happy about that, but I do need to put a plant in here. It'll help with the it'll just help with the vibe. Oh, thank you, Sid. You're really kind. So yeah, let's get to Sadhguru. Let's see what he's gonna say. Okay, within the next, let's see. Let's give him 2 minutes and let's see if he cracks a joke, because I can guarantee he'll crack a joke in 2 minutes. Let's see.
In a way, enlightenment means you're an unblemished life, no branding. Once you miss…
Okay, I'm gonna actually just go straight into that. I think that's a preview, but an important lesson. He said, and this is to kind of, he says, in a way, enlightenment means you are an unblemished life, no branding. What's the biggest thing that Sadhguru has is brand awareness. So is he implying that he's not enlightened by saying that? I don't know, but it can be interpreted in that way. So, for example, if tomorrow any scandal does come out, he has this to come back to. and say, "Well, I never claim to be enlightened." Um, you know, uh, this was all the brand, so he can easily get away from it. So um, that's just me thinking. Oh, Dimitri, you did the Art of Living course. I think you remember mentioning that healing breath workshop. However, it was really about spirituality. Later, it became even more about devotion. Yeah, I have felt that there is a strong devotional aspect to Sri Ravi Shankar's um, kind of uh, vibe. I mean, there's a lot of people that touch his feet, from what I see, and he does act like the whole guru thing. Um, but yeah, I think I don't know how the West feels about it, but I think it's pretty normal for us in the East. Sadhguru does a good job of balancing that. Um, but yeah, so in a way, enlightenment means you're an unblemished life, no branding. This is a key line, I think, um, in understanding the psyche of Sadhguru, because he can. This is his get out card.
You are an unblemished life, no branding. Once you mistake memory for intelligence, then you're messed up. There are only two kinds of people, mystics and mistakes. If you see things just the way they are, people will label you as a mystic. People even believed this, that there'll be some science in the body, and they burnt Trishul in their back, on the forehead, see this just appeared. In the West, people show their hands and there are marks here and say, I have the crucifixion marks, so Jesus has appeared for me. In India, Shankar will appear on the shoulder. You just have to burn yourself. You can brand yourself with Shankar Chakra or with crucifixion marks or whatever nonsense you want. In a way, enlightenment means you are an unblemished life, no branding. So you brand yourself and you…
Okay, so look at that. I mean, this is what I mean. Like his way of presenting information is just so weird. Like they shouldn't have done the preview in the beginning because it can be taken completely out of context. Well, what he's saying there is different. So yeah, I don't know about the crucifixion things, but yeah, I've heard of people that claim that they have divine marks. I don't know. I don't really care about them. I don't think it means anything, but that's me. It may mean a lot for other people. So,
you think you're enlightened, very sorry. So, if there is no brandings, how do you recognize? You cannot recognize. You cannot recognize. How does anybody here know I'm enlightened or not? I never made a statement on that. So how do they know? They're just assuming. Yes?
well, no, I mean, he just said that there's either two peoples in this world, either a mystic or mistake. You're kind of implying you're a mystic. Um, So, no, people aren't really assuming. You've given them all the definitions and descriptions for them to say you're enlightened. So, um, yeah, I don't really buy that, and I don't find it funny either. Told you, within 2 minutes, you cracked a joke.
So how do they know? They're just assuming. Yes? See, you go and sit in front of your kindergarten teacher. Do you know how knowledgeable he or she is? No, but that he or she knows ABC, you do not know, so you sit.
So he's saying a very good point, but I don't think is worth like all that clapping. What he said was pretty standard. I mean, yeah, one thing if I was him, I would do, and this is obviously it's his program; he can do whatever he wants. But I would tell people not to do that. It it just yeah. So for me, what was a simple and endearing statement becomes rather normal now because of the hoo-ha about it. And this is dangerous as well. Like if you get yourself into an echo chamber, that you're like if people are literally gonna applause at and kind of make noises with every simple statement you make, you know, then really, and this is not actually dissing Sadhguru more than dissing his followers. um, you then will be missing out on the deeper aspects, or maybe he will feel you're not after the deeper aspects, and he's all the right for making that decision based on the cheering that and applauding that just occurred over a simple statement, over just a kindergarten teacher teaches you ABC, so you sit. I'm not hearing any applause, and I said the same thing. Oh, leave it.
So right now, we are talking XYZ. You do not know, so you sit. So what does it matter whether I got acknowledgement from somewhere else or not? You want to learn XYZ, you sit here. You don't want, you go. So…
Again, not funny. Again, why the applause? I don't know.
What is it that is being referred to as enlightenment?
Okay.
You know, there's something called as daybreak. It's a good word, I like that. It's called sunrise, but it's a daybreak. The day broke. Is it? No, it's a night that broke. Hello? The day broke or the night broke? Night broke. Night means what in our perception? Darkness. If you were an owl, it would be different. In your perception, night means uncomfortable because dark. Your visual apparatus are not comfortable in darkness. That's why we invented all these lights and this and that. Why? Because we are not comfortable when it's dark, because we don't know what is what. In light, we see things clearly. So if night broke, that means if clarity appeared, this is all sunrise is doing to you. You could not see, you were struggling, sun came, suddenly confidence. You know where to go, where not to go, what to step into, what not to step into. This is all enlightenment is.
Not a bad explanation. Again, not actually. I've heard better descriptions of enlightenment. Um, but again, it's good. It's nice, simply said. That in darkness, uh, you obviously feel uncomfortable, and when we're in ignorance, it brings fear, and we are then at the helm of our senses, whilst in the light, when we have the clarity, when we have that gyan, that knowledge, that wisdom, we're able to see things clearly. We're able to control the senses, not get rid of the senses, but control them, and therefore we can maximize our life in that light. So that's so if that's what he means by enlightenment, I kind of agree with that, and um, I can vibe with that. I think that's a pretty cool, simple statement.
Clarity came where you see everything clearly. You know, there was a book that we were publishing. There's a series of talks and something came to give a title. So I looked at the content a little bit and then I said, of mystics and mistakes. Our English department said, Sadhguru, this is too up in the face. Say something little more gentle. People are always asking me, Sadhguru, say something little more gentle, you're capable of that, come on. I am capable, but I don't want to say because people will twist it and turn it in so many ways. If you say it in a…
Okay. Um, Despite that, a lot of people have criticized the things that he says, so it's not necessary that he's done a decent job there either of speaking with clarity. So and he's saying that he's not, he's not gentle, or he's too gentle, or he needs to be more gentle. No, when it comes to delivering a message, you know, personally, I feel like I'm always refining the way I'm defining something or expressing something, and I'm happy to admit that. But I wonder whether Sadhguru is happy just to say, "Well, I'm refining my words," rather than just saying, "Well, I'm choosing to be gentle or not." Um, so yeah.
face-slapping way. The…
Well, see, I don't think he says anything in the face slapping way. I think what he considers to be face slapping, I think in today's day and age, is not that much, not, you know, extremely different. Um, yeah, the followers are in fanboy mode or fangirl mode. They are definitely in that. Um, but do I think? And I find that when you say something in a face slapping way, you actually want people to meddle with it. You do want people to talk about it. You do want people to discuss it. You want to remain relevant. It's good PR. It's a way to make other people talk about you. So I disagree with him that he thinks that by saying something in a face slapping way, people aren't going to meddle with it. But again, this has nothing to do with enlightenment. How do you recognize an enlightened being? Someone who says it in a face slapping way or in a gentle way? I don't know. Like, so far, we've not really got into how do you recognize an enlightened being. He's not really answered the question so far.
They don't meddle with it too much. So, I said of mystics and mistakes. What it means is there are only two kinds of people, mystics and mistakes. If you see things just the way they are, people will label you as a mystic. So what are they? They're a mistake. They're making mistakes about perceiving basic aspects of life, that's all. Yes? Making mistakes about perception. Why they're making mistakes about perception? Their one hand is always dipped in their memory. This is why we say karma. They are mistaking memory for intelligence, that's all the mistake they have done. Once you mistake memory for intelligence, then you're messed up. If you have some memory about something that other people do not know, you look like scholarly. See, people read 10 books and they become scholars. People just read one book and they become religious. Just one book. How come it qualifies you to become a representative of God? If you read more than one book, then you cannot be, isn't it? You just have to read only one book. So, this is mistaking memory for intelligence. Our entire education…
I kind of understand what he's talking about, and I agree to a certain extent about that. But again, enlightenment has nothing to do with memory or perception, so to speak. But anyway, let's see. Maybe he'll clarify further.
education system is just this rubbish, mistaking memory for intelligence. If you mistake memory for intelligence, we call you a karma case. You're a karma case because you live out of your memory. not out of your intelligence. If you live out of your intelligence absolutely, without getting your memory and intelligence mixed up, then people say, oh, he's enlightened. Because whatever you bring it in front of him, he'll look at it and say, this is what it is. Simply because he doesn't mix up memory and intelligence, that's all. As simple as it seems, everything that you are right now is memory. You're a man or a woman, this is memory. Not memory means just conscious memory in your head. Your body remembers, isn't it?
Well, the body should remember that it's a body. I mean, why should it think it's anything else? And again, like, in terms of the body being memory, is that necessarily a bad thing? Is memory essentially a bad thing? No. What he's saying, and I agree with him, that if you get caught up too much in memory, it, you fail to see things as they are, as what you've seen in the past, to form the picture of the present. I get that, and true, it's true that when we work on who we are and we go through the whole process of becoming, of utilizing our vivek by understanding what is real and unreal, and then we go towards the changeless and we keep focusing on the changeless and we start negating everything that is changing, which means that memory is also changing, then we do perceive life as it is. We are very, very, and I know what that state feels like. For example, there are times when you're having a conversation with someone and you can feel absolutely present, and there isn't memory there to tell you what to say next, or, well, you remembered this. It's only when they finish talking do you then think about memory. Or, but for example, anything that he has talked about now, language, is memory. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, I would say the right utilization of memory is intelligence, rather than saying you living out of memory is not intelligence. And what I've also recognized is that when he's talking, he doesn't say we, he always says you, which I know what he means by that. Like, that's also implying that he kind of knows that the people that are in front of him haven't achieved anything or haven't achieved much. So that's also very telling, for us. But 7 minutes 30 seconds in, how do you recognize an enlightened being? If I was sincerely looking for an answer, I didn't really get it. Um, I got one good line out of 7 minutes so far. The rest of it was fluff. Uh, so, and this tends to be my criticism about him. I actually picked this thinking that he would actually speak substance, so I failed in that. But yeah, maybe there's one more minute. Let's see if he says anything else. But right now, he's just talked about not memory means just conscious memory in your head. He talks about the
Memory means
body.
just conscious memory in your head. Your body remembers, isn't it? Hello?
Oh yeah, yeah.
If you and me eat the same food, I will not become a woman, you will not become a man. The same food goes into me and becomes a man, the same food goes into you and becomes a woman. This is by memory, isn't it? The body remembers. The body remembers. If you and the monkey eat the same food, he will not become you, you will not become him. Because the body remembers. There's evolutionary memory, genetic memory, elemental memory, atomic memory, conscious, unconscious levels of memory, articulate and inarticulate levels of memory. Who you are itself is memory. So if your intelligence has to be free from memory, that means you're free from yourself. That's all. So
Okay,
if your intelligence has to be free from memory, that means you're free from yourself. That's all.
okay. So this tends to be the line that he's looking for to get the gotcha. So if your intelligence has to be free from memory, that means you're free from yourself. That's all. So is that enlightenment? I mean, is that how we recognize someone who's enlightened? That we know that they're free from memory. Intelligence is free from memory. He hasn't really explained what is intelligence or what constitutes as intelligence. And he hasn't really said what being free from yourself really means. So this video, I feel, just misses the point. Um, yeah, I don't know. Let me know. Do you feel the same way? Uh, I just feel like it was it wasn't really telling me exactly how to recognize an enlightened being, because how am I going to know that someone is not utilizing any memory? He gave like several types of memory. How am I to recognize that that person is not operating from memory? Yeah, yeah, it's lacking detail. Yeah. And it's not like he couldn't say things like in this 8-minute video, he could have tackled that without lacking any detail. Like if he actually just got to the point, he could give the explanation. But for example, when he talks about those different types of memories, I want to know what you mean by that. Instead of just naming them as if like a prescription of drugs, why don't you tell me what they mean? So I think maybe they're looking for a short video, and maybe there's more that continues after that. Uh, but regardless, if you're releasing this as a video, you want to make sure that people are understanding what you're saying. Um, Compared to what one learns through Chinmayananda's self unfoldment, where we learn about how Atma enlivens mind and memory. See, yeah, that's more interesting. Yeah, for example, the Jeev, like in Yog Vashisht, it talks about how the Jeev then starts taking on certain attributes, or contains certain attributes. That's where you get your explanations from. So, he was talking about books and reading, and I wonder whether that's his problem. Although I do believe that he's read books, much to the claim that he says he hasn't. I think if he did read some of the scriptures, it would really benefit him in terms of getting the language that's required to portray his message. I'm not saying that he's going to become more enlightened from reading the scriptures or anything than that. I'm just saying the language can be more refined so he can get his point across. But you know, Sadhguru is higher than me, and a lot of his followers may not like what I say, but yeah, it is what it is. So let's. He's really kind of, yeah. Yeah. So Dimitri, right? The thing is, he's kind of perfect for the Rogan Bro audience, but even for Rogan, Sadhguru, I don't think was good enough. I don't think he was impressed at all. So I do wonder. Um, I do wonder what value um, that has for him. So yeah, it's really. I do agree with you that, but he does match the audience that is required um, to kind of that would really love his messaging. But yeah, it's very interesting that you say that, because I can't actually disagree with it in any way. Um, the other thing that I find, um, so yeah, so it's not, there's nothing wrong with being a scholar or being religious. Those two things are fine in the place that they're in. But again, what I will say is, for Sadhguru, you're also not giving anybody something to go upon. So should they read a book? Should they not read a book? Like that wasn't clear. Or whether reading books are bad. Like it wasn't really. I don't know. It wasn't so clear. Um, so yeah, that's something that I felt to be a little A little bit naughty from Sadhguru, but otherwise interesting video, interesting take on things. I like what he says in some aspects. I like the mystics and mistake thing. The mystic being one that sees clearly, sees reality, sees Nirgam Brahman, and then mistakes being those that see Maya and think Maya is everything, or see this transactional reality as everything. I kind of really like that. I kind of I like what he says about that. But would I go far as saying they're mistakes? No. Like saying that people are a mistake for not knowing that is a bit too much. They just don't know. I wouldn't call them a mistake, but I understand what he's saying. He's trying to create the whole purpose of him making that book or series of books was to wake people up. So I will give him the benefit of doubt there and say that's cool. So now we're going to look at another. We're going to look at Sri Ravi Shankar now, and here we are. Here's our friend. I didn't watch the whole of that. I didn't even know it was 9 minutes. So that says a lot about how much I recognize how long it was. So let me just get that on. So this is going to be Sri Ravi Shankar, and so his is How to Achieve Enlightenment, and then Signs of Enlightenment Explained by Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankar. I guess he likes to be called Gurudev, so yeah. So I will hopefully that's what I will refer to him as. Okay, so right, let's go. Shri Q&A.
What is enlightenment? What do I have to do to achieve it? Is it possible to achieve this in this lifetime? From one who loves you very much, Jay Gurudev.
You can't know the pudding before you eat it.
Okay, I like that. You can't know the pudding until you eat it. It's very true. For example, there's no point saying sugar is sweet if you've never tasted the sweetness of sugar. How do you know sugar is sweet? It's only when you've tasted it. Or if you say sweetness, 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 doesn't mean that you become sweet. No, you have to taste the sugar in order to understand what sweetness is. So yeah, I like that. Nice one line, a metaphor. It is an older video. You're right, because he has more. He has more grey hair now. But yeah, let's see.
So you're putting the cart before the horse. You want to know it before you achieve it. So unless you know it, how can you even want to achieve it? This is a catch-22. You don't know what is enlightenment, then you will never have a desire to achieve it. And unless you know you have it, you will not know it. That's why this is a very complicated question. Intellectually you may not know it, but the soul wants something. And so, what is the simplest way of explaining it? It's a freedom. Lord Buddha.
I see. I like that. So it's freedom. He's explained it already. a little bit more in 1 minute 42. Um, and I kind of like what he said is that like in the beginning, he's kind of already implied that talking about enlightenment is difficult unless you've become enlightened yourself, which is what basically he was trying to portray. That how can you know someone is enlightened unless you're enlightened yourself? Which I kind of agree with. Either you say nobody's enlightened, or once you become enlightened, then you're able to recognize it. Now, what is enlightenment? In Advaita Vedanta is very simple. Uh, Enlightenment is simply when you know that there is only this formless awareness. This witness consciousness is everything. It's the ground of all existence, it's Satchitananda. And that's how you automatically know it. So, and the next element is because you know that, you're ultimately free because you're not under the constraints of this body and mind, which I think Gurudev Ji will talk about in a minute. But yeah, I kind of like his answer already. It's a bit more in depth than Sadhguru's answer.
Buddha said freedom, nirvana. Adi Shankara said bliss. Love unconditional, I would say. It's a love that's unconditional. The love that is free from all distortions.
That's an interesting take on how to recognize an enlightened person is someone that gives unconditional love. Someone who's obviously, he mentioned blissfulness, but he mentioned unconditional love. There's no distortions. I really like that answer. I think that's really cool. Um, Now, I don't know if it was in this video, like my last podcast episode, or the one that I've been editing this week. I talked about, yeah, it was in the last week one where I talked about Meister Eckhart's teachings. And in there, I talked about how there is basically unconditional love. Love is boundless, love is beyond any condition at all. What you have is likes and dislikes. That's what makes up um, what we prefer and not prefer. So, here, um so that doesn't mean that you do not have that unconditional love. That unconditional love is always in the background, but in the terms of the name and form, there may be likes and dislikes. So it doesn't mean that an enlightened person is going to like everybody, but they will love everybody. So it's a really hard thing to understand, like explain, but I understand what that means, uh, like even experientially to a certain extent. I haven't really got there fully to fully grasp it, but yeah, I absolutely see this is a sign. Like if I want to recognize an enlightened person, the one thing I want to know is if they give unconditional love. Um, so yeah, pretty good answer.
Some may say fulfillment, where you feel totally contented, fulfilled.
Okay, another one. Fulfillment. Again, I like the fact that he says that. I do agree with him. As we mentioned, we've talked about this in the Bhagavad Gita episodes about someone being in sukh. So sukh meaning comfort or fulfillment. Um, they are now comfortable in life. They are um, at ease. They're content. So yeah, if you feel fulfilled, that's another way. If someone's hopping from one desire to another, yeah, they can say whatever they like, but you can tell when people are desire hopping. Um, what's that thing when people go to like a pub crawl? People do a desire crawl all the time, and then claim, I'm beyond desire. I don't believe for a second that, for one, I don't think you can ever get over desire. I think you always will have desire while you're in the body and mind. The difference is whether the desires will overwhelm you is the question. So, for example, I do have desires, but the desires don't overwhelm me. That's the only difference. And that's happened from years of spiritual practice. I don't think it didn't happen overnight. Like I had to really work on that and continuously work on it. It's not like it's an everyday battle, especially with desires. So I agree with uh, Sri Ravi Shankar ji that there needs to be a certain level of fulfillment, and that would be a sign that I look for. If an enlightened person isn't fulfilled and is desire crawling, then um, what will you really learn from that person? What will you really grasp? Will you grasp that inner stillness, that centeredness that's required to go further in spirituality? If someone doesn't feel fulfilled, why are you going there expecting to be fulfilled? That's why we enter the spiritual path. In fact, when we go to a guru, the one of the things that we look for is the guru after desires or not. I think the way we assess gurus is in that manner, with the right intentions. That if a guru is desiring things left, right, and center, then what am I going to learn from them? Which is funny because I say this, and there's lots of people that believe in manifestations of the material, and they call themselves gurus. And I'm on about those people. There's a lot of people that talk about manifestation without calling themselves gurus or anything like that. But there's a lot of them that do that. Now, why they're not the type of people that are after enlightenment. They're not those people. Those people um, who are talking about enlightenment tend to be fulfilled. So that's another way to understand what an enlightened person is. Um, they won't be teaching you manifestation, that you can manifest everything or manifest whatever you want. Um, that's not something that you're going to do. He sometimes used to describe these knowledge Q&A sessions as just excuses to be together. Quite sweet, really. Yeah. Well, I have felt there's a certain warmth from him. I do agree. And in fact, I would even say, from looking at the way he is, um, I know, I find his demeanor really nice. And his voice is very, like, kind of soft spoken. So that's pretty interesting. But yeah, I felt that there's a more of a warmth to him, less arrogance. Like when I was listening to Sadhguru in the last video we were just reacting to, I felt there was a bit of arrogance, but with him, I've not felt that yet. He's actually just gone straight to answering the question without any fluff, which I really like.
Others would call it losing the small I and becoming the big I.
I've heard that in the spiritual circles too. I think I've talked about it once or twice. How you get rid of the small I meaning me, and or what we consider to be me, and then embracing the bigger me, which is this existence. Beyond this existence is Brahman, the ultimate I am. So, yep. Again, one thing I want to say, within the first couple of minutes, he started answering the question. I just want us to note that down.
Whatever it is, however much you hear about it, it will still remain a mystery. Like you cannot know sleep unless you sleep. And when you sleep also, you cannot know it. You can sleep, that's all.
I I like that. Again, I don't really like the clapping and the laughter, but that's just me as a person. Um, but he gave a good enough answer for to deserve that, in my opinion. But yeah, I kind of like that. You know, it, what an interesting way of explaining it. You know, there's no point. You have to do it. Yeah, you can only know you're asleep if you are asleep, and if you're asleep, you're just asleep. So same thing with enlightenment. If you're enlightenment, you don't need to. You just have to be. There's no. Uh, there's no other way around it. So yeah, I get it. I like what you said.
But the good thing is, even that question has come, I want to achieve it, I want to know what is enlightenment, has already set you on that goal.
One thing that's really nice. He's encouraging, inspiring, motivating. Some things that you want to look for in a real teacher. Um, you want that. So I really like that. That uh, that answer. Um, so yeah, that whoever asked the question is now going to be definitely motivated.
See, you are too big to fit into small things, small pleasures, small satisfaction, small achievements. And there is something so big, so great that befits you. That is enlightenment.
Hmm.
Do you see what I'm saying? Blessed are those who do not find satisfaction in small things. They're so blessed. Or we just imagine someone is so happy, contented, earning a little money, having a little family, and they're just happy with just themselves and their own little family, and they think about their children and their family and they die. So unfortunate. They don't think about the whole globe, the whole planet Earth. They don't think beyond their little circle. That is, if they're satisfied in that way, they're not fortunate. But if you're thinking big, more than me, I, a little bigger, what can I contribute to this planet Earth? How I can be of help to my community, the people around us. That indicates a growth, certain growth.
I like that answer. I kind of agree. Yes, you can feel content with life, and you may be happy with the material things that you've achieved and are achieving, and that's all good. Um, but then, what about the larger picture? And this is why, for example, when we look at the Bhagavad Gita, often um, we've often gone onto the path where we'll discuss how you got to help society and how you have to uh, speak for those that are being oppressed. And whenever somebody is having their rights snatched away, you're there to defend their rights. Um, when I talk about rights, I'm actually talking about real civil rights, not, do you have to stay at home because of a pandemic? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about real rights where, for example, people don't even have their, even today, we're finding that in America and elsewhere that they're looking for ways to reduce voting power for people. We've just seen the loss of women's rights over abortion. Um, I think just the other day there was something about LGBTQ rights. So there's continuously a struggle to allow everyone to be in freedom. Now, if these basic rights were given, society would be at a much better place to then think about the larger questions like enlightenment. There's a reason why I don't think the world is ready for enlightenment, or why there will never be a global shift like people claim there's going to be. Some people talk about this, that they feel that there's a shift happening. And I used to believe it too. But now I don't, because I think people are too much in their little circle and they're not thinking broader. If you think broader, it's a lot different. And so, Dimitri, you told me this is an older video, which I recognize because of the color of Gurudev's beard and hair. What I'll also say is that I know that this is true because what he's talking about, having a larger vision, thinking about the globe, again, his response to the pandemic, I agree. So I'm seeing it in action from him. Yeah, this shift is more of a Western notion. Yeah, it's when you read a lot of self-help books, people talk about this shift. And I don't think there is a shift, so to speak. I'm probably more against that now, after what I've seen. What I will say is not necessarily that there's a shift. What I will say, I wouldn't even say there's more people waking up. What I would say is that there's just a few more people that are understanding what they really are, and they're probably speaking about it, but that doesn't mean there's a huge shift in society. I don't think that's happening. Yeah, the new age is coming. Yeah, it's all that nonsense. Yeah, I don't think that is the case. And this has been promoted by Eckhart Tolle. Now, what he said in, who knows what he really meant at the time, but when people grasp it, um, they can manipulate his words, but really, only he knows what he meant by that. But yeah, but I agree with Gurudev Ji that you gotta think broader. You gotta think much more uh, beyond uh, yourself and your family members. You gotta be thinking about the whole world. So yeah, nice. We're getting answers. I like this.
Right. And you will realize that you are worth so much more than you value yourself.
Hmm.
Each one of you is so precious to the planet. Not just for mankind, for the entire planet, for all the species.
Again, look at this, thinking bigger, not just for not not just thinking that you're here just for humanity, but for all species. I really like that. Again, interesting way, a good sign where you see this. Um, so, by the way, it's thundering and lightning here. Possible that I could get a power outage. So, if I do, I apologize. And it will be cut short and you'll be able to see that. But hopefully, nothing happens and we can continue.
Human beings can protect the other species in the planet or destroy them. We have this ability.
Mm,
There are
true.
many who are ready to destroy. There are few who are inclined to protect.
Interesting. So this will actually go against the people that claim there's a shift in consciousness. He's saying there's a few who are inclined to protect, and many who are willing to destroy. And I agree with his assessment more now when I look at things.
Those who are inclined to protect have a big heart,
Yeah.
have better awareness.
I think he's on about Vivek, discernment.
And those fortunate times have come now that people are thinking about our planet Earth. The native people, Native Americans, always worshipped the mountains, the rivers. They honored the rivers. They honored water. They honored the earth, Mother Earth. They honored the trees. And that's why all these redwood trees are standing there from 2000 years. Throughout the world, the native people everywhere have been honoring nature. In India, the same thing. In Australia, in China, in Japan, you see there has been that culture to honor nature. If you plant one tree, if you cut one tree, you are supposed to plant 5 trees of the same kind. First, you have to ask permission from a tree. It would appear completely naive and uncivilized to people when a person goes to tree and asks them, I want to cut you, please pardon me, but I am going to plant 5 more of your same variety. Such people will be ridiculed. But plants do feel. They can feel the emotion, sensation. So when someone is going to cut a tree, they can say, oh,
That's true. I mean, so me and my wife, we've got a mint tree and a basil tree. Well, mint tree, basil. We have plants, mint plant and basil plant, and uh, I often say to her, when we water it, I speak. We should speak to them and honor them and thank them. And I agree with him. Like, that's a really cool way. And it's true. In India, we have, when even in the podcast, we've talked about how we should be thankful to the elements. We should be thankful to um, the elements of nature, towards air, towards the earth, towards fire, towards, so that's meaning the sun, the rivers, the trees, everything. We should be grateful, because without that, we wouldn't be alive. It sustains us. It sustains our body. So even on a gross level, it sustains us. So for that, appreciation is required. So yeah, I completely agree with Sri Ravi Shankar ji.
I'm going to plant 5 of your type. Don't worry. Be happy. You can come into my dining room as a dining table or something. Give me warmth in the log as a log of wood. Those days are returning back. Now people are becoming more cautious about nature. The greed in mankind have find its peak, and there is no plateau in the peak. It has to come down. We have reached the height of greediness. Height of greed has been achieved, so it is sliding down already. The younger generation are no longer interested in things like that. They want to contribute to the society. They become more sensitive and caring.
See, this is why I think it's so important to have people like Sri Ravi Shankar ji. I don't think he's actually changed on this point. A lot of people like to condemn millennials. I'm a millennial, but um, like, I see, I see, and I even appreciate Gen Z. Is it Gen Z who are the generation below or after me? So yeah, like, instead of condemning them for being sensitive, in fact, see where they're coming from and see if it actually helps us to understand things better. Maybe they're showing us a better way of being. And it's true. You see articles now that are being written about how Gen Z isn't about getting the best. They're not on. They don't care about getting the best pay or anything like that. They're more about actually being satisfied with work. That that in itself has opened. Well, I can tell that it's created a big shift in organizations and the way they have to think. So I kind of agree, and we are more sensitive. If you look at the younger generation, they are more sensitive to language, what you say, and not only that, but they're really sensitive about making sure that they don't upset anyone. They try to avoid it. Inevitably, you're going to upset people, but they try to avoid it. Um, so you do see that shift. Not saying that there are some idiots that will probably not give a damn about anyone and will probably do whatever they please. And I'm not saying they're not those type of people, even in Gen Z or in millennials, but um, there's things to appreciate. They shouldn't be condemned all the time. So I kind of like the fact that Gurudev Ji has taken the time to actually at least see their intention rather than just condemn, which is kind of cool.
And that's a good trend. Someone there is a switch behind you. That's disturbing, right? A little bit. See, I see the camera crew getting little jittery over it. So watch when you lean on the switch that it doesn't go down.
Okay, that's interesting. It's nice that they kept that at the end. Again, overall, a better video explaining what to expect in an enlightened person. One, they should feel content and fulfilled. Two, they should have unconditional love. Three, they should feel bliss. Those are the general things to expect. They think broader. They think about the whole of society, the whole of the planet, the globe, probably even on the level of the universe. So, yeah, I totally agree with him on those points, and they're nice. So, that was Sri Ravi Shankarji. I actually really enjoyed this video. It, I've not watched much of him. Uh, you know um so recently I listened to the Duncan Trussell podcast when he was on, and then also this one, which makes me feel like I want to check out his book on the Ashtavakra Gita, because I'd be interested to see what he says um on that. But yeah, good. That was nice. So that was how to achieve enlightenment, science of enlightenment, explained by Gurudev Sri Ravi Shankar. Really nice video. I like that. What did you think about this one? What's your views on this video? Did you like it? Um, and did you feel that he answered the question about how to achieve enlightenment and what are the signs of enlightenment? Um, they're good. Oh, I will check them out. I'll check them out. Um, so let's see. Okay, I want to get a video of Sadhguru. He says, okay, so okay, I think there's a video that says how to get enlightened, Sadhguru. So I think, so we've got one video. Let's see. Um, it's a, not a popular video. I'm quite surprised. Um, how to get enlightened. Here we go. It wasn't the one I planned, but I wanted to get maybe a question that's very similar and then see and compare what we think.
What should you do to
Sadhguru, wait 1 second. He's very eager to answer. Hey Guy, how are you? Shanti to you. He certainly answered the question to an extent. Not sure if the list was exhaustive, but he gave some indicators. yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot more he could have said, but it would have satisfied me if I was there looking for an answer. It'd be enough for me to go back and work upon. For example, when he talks about unconditional love, I'd be able to recognize and see if I have that unconditional love. Am I feeling bliss? Um, am I feeling love? Am I thinking of caring for the entire planet? So I think those are like good ways. I know what to do and go back to. Um, so this question, this is an older video of Sadhguru, although it was published not long ago, I think. Um, but yeah, how to get enlightened, Sadhguru. So let's see if his answer is different. Like this is more or less the same question. So let's see.
Be enlightened. Now once again, enlightenment is not an achievement. Enlightenment is not going to the peak. Enlightenment is a homecoming. You come back to your original nature. Right now, you have
Okay, nice. I like that. That's a good answer so far.
identified yourself with many things that you are not, isn't it? Now, we were looking at this yesterday. What you call as my body is an accumulation that you slowly gathered, isn't it? When you were born, you were only so much, now you are so much. Why? You gathered your body slowly, accumulation. What you call as your mind is accumulation. Everything that you know around you is accumulation, isn't it? That means you are deeply, deeply identified with things that you are not. A piece of earth you picked up and made body out of it. But that piece of earth, you're so deeply identified, you believe it is you. Till you fall dead, you go on believing this, isn't it? Isn't it so? So right now, you have gotten distorted vision. If you stop your distortions and come back to your original nature, that's enlightenment. What do I have to do? There is really nothing to do.
Yeah, a much better answer. Now, this is an older video, Sadhguru, so I wonder whether the older Sadhguru was more honest and more like now there's been no clapping, no laughter, a bit more somber and serious. So yeah, interesting. Let's see what more he has to say.
If you don't do anything, it will happen. But right now you have gotten into a mental state that there is no way you can do nothing. All the time you are out doing something. You think if you don't do anything, something will happen. Yes, it will happen, something fantastic will happen, but you have not allowed yourself in that state for a moment. So, to bring you to that state where you can do nothing, we will have to make you do many things. Otherwise, you won't sit in one place, isn't it? If you simply sit here and don't do anything, either with your body or with your mind or with your emotions, the reality of the existence will burst forth within you, nobody to stop it. It is just that you are constantly on. You have become such a slave of your mind. Endlessly it's going on, you can't stop it, you can't hold it, you can't do anything about it. Because once you get into the trap of the mind, it just goes on endlessly. It has its own momentum, you don't have to do anything about it. One day if you rev it up and leave it, it can go on for many years, picking up more and more momentum. It doesn't need your assistance anymore, isn't it so? Do you see this happening? People who are reasonably happy in the world are those people who got a little break from the nonsense in their head, that's all. They are not all the time like that. Some moments, they are not so messed up, so they're okay. If you don't mess yourself up, if you simply be here, you are enlightened. But you can't keep your hands on it all the time, it's on it. So slowly with yoga, all these postures, we'll tie your hands up in such a way that you can't mess with it, because you're in a posture somehow. We'll do it to you somehow.
Right. That was the answer. Well, you kind of found that I stopped not so much in them. I listened more to this. I was trying to grasp what he was saying, and let me know what your views are in the comments. Uh, Let me know what you think. He's simply saying that all you have to do is simply be here, and that's it. You'll be enlightened. And then he said there's many things that will need to be done in order to get there. Um, the different postures. I get it. I can see where he's coming from. I can buy that answer. Um, but where I would find a slight disagreement with him is about doing nothing. Because in that answer, he kind of implied also that you have to do something the second later. But to simply be as you are, okay, here it is. Um, Here it is. But he mocked Ramana Maharishi for just being as he was, and now says that's the only way to enlightenment. Um, which is an interesting thing. Um, so all I felt with this answer was more of a selling point of, oh, I can give you methods and you will get there. But if you notice, the difference with Sri Ravi Shankarji's answer was he gave you the end point, which kind of meant that if you looked at the end, you will start your journey. So if I talk to you about bliss, you will want to work towards bliss. If I talk to you about unconditional love, you will want to work towards unconditional love. So he gave you both the target and the journey and the beginning and everything all together in one, which is the correct answer. This was bypassing the method. So how to get enlightened wasn't really answered. Um, the enlightened state was more talked about than how to get there. Um, by saying postures will help you, I think is a very naive response, because how do you know what are those postures going to do? You've got to explain these things, and that's why I think sometimes when they create these videos, these clips, they need to do a better job of making sure that it's a strong answer. I did say to you that this was a relatively new um, video that was uploaded. Yeah, from 4 years ago. It's not long, is it really? But yeah, Guy, my dad used to say there are only two types of people that are truly happy: the insane and the spiritual. Crude way to say it, but he wasn't wrong. I agree with him. Yeah, um, yeah, I see where he's coming from. Um, yeah, so yeah, I don't know if I really want to look at another video of Sadhguru's, because I don't think he really answers the question. Um, I was really looking for a strong answer. Um, So yeah, um, yeah. There's no point going into another one, but I think those were good. Those are good videos. To kind of give us a take on what enlightenment is. Now, personally, I will answer this question now. What does enlightenment mean? Well, enlightenment is simply when you know that you are this formless awareness. But how do we get to this point of understanding that we are the formless awareness? We have to follow the whole process of neti neti, which is not this, not this. And so, how do we apply this teaching? Well, we apply it by understanding what we are not. So, what we understand is the changing world, the changing body, the changing mind is unreal on the base that it's transient, it's always modifying, whilst awareness, the one that is watching the changes in the body, the changes in society, the changes in the mind, remains static, remains the same, remains still, and remains unaffected and is changeless. So that is so enlightenment is simply going towards that changeless state. Now, following that comes into the right understanding. Now, the right understanding is given to is when we understand, well, what is awareness? So what we find first thing is that awareness is nirgun, it is attributeless, therefore formless, it has no image, it really doesn't have a name. Language cannot define it, language cannot name it, but we do our best to describe it. And that's what we talk about. Now, the other aspect that is really wonderful of this is it is Sat Chitananda. So it is the ground of all existence. Therefore, everything that we see and perceive through our senses is the ground of that, the energy or the ground of that whole existence. The base of that whole of existence is Brahman itself, this awareness. So therefore, it is one with us. We do not see it as separate to us. So the end of duality is the first step, or the major step, I would say. Um, then it's chit. We understand that it is aware of its own awareness. I would go towards that extent, and therefore it rests in that awareness. Um, so that's one aspect, and because it recognizes it is awareness, it also recognizes that it is boundless. It has no beginning, it has no end. It is love itself. It's love itself. Why? Because it's ananda. It is bliss. And when there is bliss, there is that bliss, which is not happiness, not ordinary happiness, which comes and goes. This bliss is uncreated. It has no birth. It has no death. It's constantly here, because it is anand. It is bliss. It contains all the great aspects of life. So contentment, love, acceptance, forgiveness, all these aspects are within that blissfulness, large heartedness, uh, the universal outlook, all that is in Anand. So I I don't know if I've done a better job than the both of them, to be honest. But that's how I view enlightenment, and that's how I measure where I'm at. Not saying that I'm there. I'm saying that's the yardstick that I use to measure where I am right now. And I would analyze myself on those points. Uh, if I and what I find is that the enlightened person is living in that awareness as much as possible. So although they may be chopping wood, carrying water, but they're still in that awareness all the time. Meaning that that awareness is always ever present. They don't have to be consciously aware of that awareness. Like they can still carry out their duties, but their base is always in that awareness. So whenever they find there's a disturbance in the mind, or if they find the senses are starting to play up again, they're able to go back to awareness. So they can, so really, awareness truly is the ground of their existence, the base of their existence, the foundation of all existence. So yeah, um, so yeah, that's my explanation. Um, but yeah, um, I don't think he can answer it because I don't think he's enlightened. But I'm not sure an enlightened person can answer because they know you need to find it for yourself. Yep, I totally agree. You, it's like I mentioned. If I tell you sugar is sweet, uh, until you taste the sugar, you will not know it's sweet, right? So it's important to taste the sugar. So I agree. I agree there. There's definitely things we can do that prepare us and put us in a better position for enlightenment. I'm sure. Yeah, exactly. Well, listening to thoughts like from a competent teacher will get you there. Studying the scriptures will get you there. Doing meditation, having, um, once I was joking with Nish the fish. He's really popular on TikTok. Well, he's great on YouTube as well. I mean, he does great lectures, and we were once talking about how people get worked up about things, and he joked to me and he says, when people get so disturbed by things, um, they should do more japa. They should do more japa meditation, more chanting. And I agree with him because why are you letting silly things affect you or ruin your day or disturb you in a way where you get angry? And angry at the wrong and delivering that anger in the wrong way. Anger can be justified if you do it towards the greater good of society. So, um, so when you do more japa, when you do more meditation, when you do more, um, when you chant the Lord's name, that helps as well. Um, I gave up on trying to love everyone because I realized it would be Dimitri, the ego, trying to love everyone rather than the self shining through and being naturally loving. The former is doership. I love that, Dimitri. That is amazing. And that's very true. Like, allow that formless awareness to be naturally itself so that loves everyone. That would love everything. And I agree with you because if, say, I try to love everybody, then that is my ego. And no matter what, there'd be different measurements in my love, therefore it will not be unconditional, right? So yes, for it to be unconditional, I have to allow that which is without a condition, which is without any boundaries, which is completely free, to be the base of love itself. So I'm with you on that. Totally agree with you, and that's why I said that awareness would be the unconditional love, but in the name and form, you may have likes and dislikes, and I think that's perfectly normal. I don't think you should like everybody. I think it's natural to dislike some people. That doesn't mean you hate them. You know, we, hate is not even in the vocabulary here. You know, enmity is not in the vocabulary. All that is there is you just dislike someone, so you just stay away from them. That's all, or you avoid them, or you limit your contact with them. That's all. Uh, it, it's really, really simple. But also, one of the other things to recognize, the huge sign I find in uh, enlightened people is humility. You, and I would say, if you don't see humility, it's time to run a mile. Maybe not a mile, maybe even more. Um, like, run from that person who is not humble. It's really important for a spiritual person to be like an enlightened person to be humble. And when I say that, it's not an expectation, but more. But it's kind of like, if there is a basic expectation, that's the one. Because if there's arrogance, then what's the point? And we got a lesson of this in the Ramayana, where Ravan, being such an intelligent being, he knew the four Vedas off by heart. He was the favorite devotee of Lord Shiva. He was no ordinary person. Yet the one thing that got to him was arrogance. He lacked humility. So what was the point of all those high teachings if your thinking is still so low? So those people are the highest who think they are low, but actually not in a inferiority complex way. That again, that's different. But they see themselves more of a servant at the Lord, of the Lord's work of existence, and that's how they see themselves. Guy, I really like that. I'm great at humbleness. I'm probably the most humble person I know. I really love when people say I have no ego. Like whenever someone says like in a conversation that, oh yeah, I have no ego, I'm like, bro, that sounds so much like ego. Like, why would you say you have no ego? There's no need to say that. People should recognize it in you, not the other way round. Yes, exactly. The inferiority complex is just another shade of ego. So the difference here is a humble person will accept what you say and they'll say it's a blessing. Like, for example, if I'm ever praised, the first thing I do, and it's a natural thing, I thank my guru, I thank awareness. These are the qualities of awareness that people are praising. They're not praising me. So this is the thing. An inferiority complex is I don't deserve the praise. That's inferiority complex. I shouldn't be praised at all. I'm not good enough. That also isn't the sign of an enlightened person, because the enlightened person, when people talk about Swami Vivekananda, he was a lion, they said. It's exactly who you are. You're a lion. You know, um, so you're fearless, is what I mean. So those are the things that you look for in somebody. Um, I'm not an egotist. Some of my best qualities are humility. It's true. Humility is so important. Um, so I would say that if there's one way to really see somebody's enlightened, is to see how humble they are. If they're not humble, consider that there's something wrong. Or you just need to take a closer look. There may not be anything wrong. It just may mean that you need to up your discernment a little. That's all, and just check. It may be that the person is humble, but they say arrogant things to just get a response. Which I don't know if that's the case with Sadhguru. I don't know if he's enlightened or not. Neither do I care, because I'm not a follower of his. But he shared a lot, and that's why I think we should comment more on his videos, because we have to give people, I think they have to be criticized. In his first video that we watched, he said if he says anything, I forgot the word that he used, but he talked about like if he says things, um, harshly, or they're like a slap on the face, people will not question it. Do you see what that's actually doing? Like what he's actually saying there? And this was his video about how do you recognize an enlightened person. Look at the difference between that response and then Sri Ravi Shankar. That's miles apart. So, and actually, I think it's like I mentioned earlier, if you say something that's like a slap across the face, people are going to talk about it and they're going to hold you to account. So, I think because Sadhguru says that people will not talk about his stuff more because he's so harsh. I think we will be commenting a lot more, but yeah, like I wanted to mix things up. A lot of the people that I look at are um, truly um, interesting people. And no matter what, Sadhguru is a very interesting person. I think is an intriguing person, to say the least. But not that it was a battle, but if I um, if it was like a penalty shootout, um, Sri Ravi Shankar won 1-0, and Sadhguru had two chances to win. That was actually a lame attempt at a joke. I'm not a racist. Someone best. Oh, okay, okay, I get you. Okay, I was trying to think of it as a joke, and then I'm not an egotist. Some of my best qualities I admitted. Now I get it. Okay, now I get it. Um, see, the beautiful thing is, so this is also enlightenment, right? Another example is the aha moment when the light bulb switches on. Sometimes when you're told a joke, you don't get it. And then later on, when someone gives you context or you see the context in the situation and it reminds you of the joke, and then you start laughing out of nowhere, uh, that's that's certainly something you can. Uh, that's something you find also in an enlightened being. That it's not that they've never been enlightened. You are enlightened. You are enlightenment itself. But the only difference is that we just simply don't recognize it in ourselves yet. That's the only difference. Some of us may. I don't know. Only you know you. So um, there's definitely things to be learned from Sadhguru. Sometimes it's what he's teaching, and sometimes it's just what he is. Yeah, and look, um, I can't mock him. He's got 10 million subscribers. He's obviously caught the imagination of a lot of people. Um, so yeah, it's really good. Um, so yeah, right. That was a good live session. I really enjoyed that. Not a lot of people joined today. It might be the time because I think when I do 6 o'clock, I tend to get less of a turnout because um, people tend to. I think my audience in the UK and Europe don't get to listen to me. So I will. If I don't have podcast work going on, I try to come on before, but it's just the nature of things. But people can always revisit the live streams. But yeah, thank you very much for joining. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you next time. I'll probably be live again next week. Tomorrow, I have conversations with the Bearded Mystic recording, and um, so I'll be busy there. So tomorrow I'm having a conversation with an actual Christian. I think he's a teacher of centered prayer. So I'm interested in what he's going to say. I'm intrigued to learn what he's going to say. So I have that. So um, tomorrow I'll be spending time trying to learn more about him and listen to his things. I think I won't say that's the person, or I've just completely got it wrong. I need to do a better job of knowing my guests. And I'm still editing Sami Varda's uh, conversation. I think I've probably just gone through 30%, 25% of it right now, 30% of it right now. It's been it's my the compute my for some reason that file just slows down, and it shouldn't do, but for some reason it is. So um and there's a lot of things I have to edit, but so far, but yeah, we'll get that out this month for sure. Probably try and get another one out this month, so try to get two of them out. Um, but yeah, but thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Dimitri G. Thank you, Guy G. And hopefully see you all again soon. So hopefully next week I'll come back again on the live. We'll either do a reaction video, or I may even just do um a production about the. I think I'm taking a step back from the scriptures because I'm planning to um the foundational text. because I think I'm going to end up doing them after the Bhagavad Gita session episodes in the podcast. I think there's an importance of having them on the podcast as well. So although they're here on the live stream on YouTube, they're not put onto the podcast. And with the podcast, I have to think about it and structure it in a way in some aspect. So I think that's what I'm going to end up doing. So a production of the Buddhi might be going there. So that's why you probably have not seen me talk about that. I think I'll do more reaction videos. Um, and just general Q&As. We can talk about things, have a discussion. It's all about getting together and just discussing things. But yeah, if you're interested as well, every Saturday I host a meditation session. We actually have a process now. There's a particular method to the meditation we do. So um, if you're interested in feeling, in going through the experience, you know, join us. It I feel that, a lot of people, um sometimes people say to me that it's the one leading the meditation that gives the energy. I feel the opposite way. um I feel that the people that are attending are giving me the energy, and I'm just reflecting that. That's all. So it's, I feel that way. But yeah, so that's really interesting. I really like those sessions. 30-40 minutes of just connecting, and then sometimes we have question and answers there as well. I don't put those up online, because I like the intimacy that's done on them. And right now it's intimate, so it's really nice and organic. um, but yeah, it's but yeah, yes, definitely, it's awesome to hang out. So we do learn from each other, and that's the whole purpose of our channel. So yeah, all right, take care, everyone. See you soon. Have a good week and a weekend, and I shall see you again very soon. Bye.